Looking back, it's, to what we started the first day of training camp. I think everybody can be proud of where we are. Um, and I think if you look at expectations from the outside, I think we probably succeeded what they were. And internally, we didn't really set any expectations as far as like wins or losses. It was just we're gonna win the day, and I think that we did a really good job of not getting sucked into the ups and downs of the NHL. I said that last week, but you can ride the highs and the lows pretty good, and so I'm very proud of that we didn't do that as a group, and um, yeah, looking back, I think we did some good things this year.
Kyle, what changed? I mean, people point to getting, and I'm using what they say, getting rid of Eichel or getting rid of Kruger. But what changed with this team, with the changes that happened with Don coming in and Tuch and Krebs coming in and the other youngsters coming in?
Well, when Donnie came in, he talks about playing fearless, and that's something that not a lot of people in the NHL talk about. And if you think about basic psychology, it seems like a pretty good way to do it, right? Like everybody's going to make mistakes in this business, and you guys are very quick to point out mistakes, of course, um, but everybody's going to make mistakes, and so if you're able to get past that, then you're allowed to grow naturally as players. All the young guys that we had, which we had a lot, are allowed to make mistakes and not get chastised for it. So they're going to get better, and I think that's what you saw this year. Is Donnie allowing everybody an environment to where they could succeed and to where they could grow, and I think that's kind of where the change started and happened throughout the year.
Kyle, when you think back to these last 2 months where you guys really found a lot, beat a lot of teams, there can be carryover to next year, and there can be the theory that you guys were out of the race, there wasn't a lot of pressure. Is it fool's gold? Most of the players coming back, how do you make sure it does carry over, that you guys, the success you had does have some relevance when training camp starts?
It's a tricky question. It's a tricky answer because I've been up here to say that it doesn't translate. Um, but in thinking about it over the last couple months, how we played and how we prepared for games was exactly like you do when you're in the race. Like there was no, oh, we're just gonna play. We're gonna be good because we're playing loose. That's not how we played, and that's what translates. When you play loose and you just are like, okay, there's no pressure and we're just gonna win some games because we're gonna outskill teams. I think that's what doesn't translate. But when you watch us play, like that's not what we did. Like we grinded, we played the right way. Um, it was frustrating if something didn't happen. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, that whatever. We just lost another meaningless game. Like it was, we all took it personally, and that's what you do when when you're a good team. So I think that's what translates because that's hopefully what we're going to carry over into next year.
Mentality is kind of what you're referring to. It hasn't seemed in recent years this team ever really had the right mentality. And you think back to just 1 year ago, the chaos you were in. I mean, how much of that just simply came from Don and Kevin and stability, knowing that they were going to be the leaders in the front office, and how much of that came from the room?
Well, Kevin provides a sense of calmness for sure. He's a good person, and he's always around, and GMs can act differently, or you can be a little bit squeamish or uneasy around GMs, and he's just not like that at all. So he provides a level of calmness from that level, and then Donnie just he loves hockey. He loves the game, and he just um, like I said, he provides that fearless mentality. So it allows guys to grow and to have to be in a good frame of mind mentally. And then in the room, the guys, I don't know, the guys are they're gonna grow up together here, and as they get a little bit older and reflect, like that's what I did on the island. Is I was a young guy and we grew up together, and it all happened kind of the way it was supposed to, and these guys are going to do that here, and it's something really special, and they've created that mentality themselves, and they're going to continue. It's going to continue to evolve. Different leaders are going to continue to pop out of that group. Different personalities are going to continue to grow. Guys are going to have kids. They're going to start to have families, and that then they'll evolve as people. So but the framework is there for that mentality to continue to grow.
Is there are guys sad that they're gonna have to go their separate ways for a few months? Like, you get that sense the guys are just sad they're not gonna have that camaraderie until August or September.
For sure, I think that's something that'll be tough for guys, but I'm sure we'll be texting about playoffs, and a lot of hockey nerds in there. So guys will be watching. Guys will be watching a lot of hockey and texting about that. But yeah, guys are definitely going to be sad that practices are over and games are over because we enjoy being around each other.
What impact did Alex Tuch have, not only on the ice since he arrived, but off the ice?
Tucky, he's a big man. He's a big personality because his energy is infectious, I think, and I think that's what he brought. More so is just that everything that he touches, he puts everything into, and whether it be charity work or the fans or the team or on the ice, and he brought that energy every single day, and it's always hard, coming in a big trade. Like it was a really massive trade, so I think at first sometimes you can feel like you have to live up to those expectations, and he was hurt too, so he's hurt coming here, so he doesn't feel quite like he's part of the group. But once he started to play and kind of realize what we had as a group, then he just settled in, and on the ice was totally seamless, and off the ice, once he settled in and just realized he could be himself, then his energy was something that was second to none on our team this year.
Kyle, is it curious that 6 years ago you joined a team that you thought was just one or two pieces away, and 6 years later you've actually found that team that might have that promise?
It's something I remember standing right here in my introductory press conference and talking about winning a Stanley Cup and how excited I was for the team. And it was a tough first few years for sure. But I'll tell you guys a little story. I was in a meeting, and I talked about when you get to becoming a good team, you feel like you are going to win every game. Like that's just how you feel. You go into a game and there's no doubt. And if you don't win, you're going to win the next one. And I talked about that in one of the first meetings I had behind closed doors, and we were in New Jersey, and the guy I was sitting next to, the younger guy, but he looked at me and just said, "Man, it feels good because we're going to win this game." And that was the first time that I had felt that in 6 years, and that was something that was pretty special. So I think it's coming, and I'm looking forward to what's in store for our group.
Getting voted the Rick Martin Award, what did that mean? And once again, your family was right there with you this whole season. What does that mean to share this with your family?
That was pretty special. They surprised me, and Nicole and Dirk did a great job. keeping that a secret and having them out there with me. It's yeah, my oldest Ellie, she's been wanting to come on the ice ever since Gio's 1000th game. She's been asking when she's going to get to come on the ice, so that was something pretty cool. And to be voted for that by the fans is definitely special. And I just try and do my job every day, and everything else is a bit of a byproduct. But to be recognized for something like that is really cool.
There's some discussion about captains for next year. Have you given any thought to that or what it would mean to you?
Yeah, a lot of talk about that, and I don't know. I'm me. I've been here for 6 years. You guys have been dealing with me for 6 years. I'm not going to change no matter what. And if that would happen, it'd be a great honor. If it would go to somebody else, I'd be their biggest supporter. So it's something that isn't going to change me, but yeah, I'm just going to continue to do the things that I do and be myself every day.
Did you feel it worked, you and Zempius? I mean, you both were the captain, really. I mean, even the way Don described it when he talked about it in the beginning, he said, well, we're really both the captain. We're going to put A's on both of them. But didn't you feel that kind of worked as a leadership thing this year?
Yeah, Z. I mean, I'll never get tired talking about Z because he does not get enough credit for what he does on our team, and he's such a special person, a special player, quiet guy, but big presence because of the way that he plays. I mean, he's put his body on the line every single day since he first got in the league, and there's not many teammates that I've played with that do that on a nightly basis, and he does. And that's something that most other guys in the league can't say that they do. So to say that he has a huge influence in the room is a vast understatement.
Kyle, when you look at these last 2 months, is one of the biggest accomplishments in your mind that this team kind of reconnected with the fans? People wanted to be a part of it, and they started coming back in the building, and it sets a tone for next year.
Yeah, it's. I've lived here full time for a few years, and I can't tell you how many text messages and people reaching out to me over the last couple months, and just excited about the group, and I can feel that. I can feel the fans' excitement over the last couple months, and I said it after the first game and right away in the season. Like, I think people forget kind of how we started a little bit. Like we were 5-1-1 in our first 7. Like that. That was a taste, but we weren't ready to sustain that, and we had to kind of go through what we went through this year in order to come out over the last 2 months and become a team that figured out how to play every night. And these fans are smart. Like they're smart fans. They see it. You can't fool. I had a coach that always told me, like, that fan sitting up in the 300 levels eating popcorn, like, he's going to see everything. And you can't fool them. And they're smart and they see what's going on. So I'm hoping that they're going to continue to see it, and we're going to earn their trust and their loyalty back.
Jeff pulled off a pretty remarkable comeback season. Just when you look at it, I mean, for him to go from being a healthy scratch to scoring 33 goals and being a first liner all year, how remarkable is that? Especially, at his age. I mean, he's not old, but I mean, as a veteran, a lot of guys don't come back from that.
Yeah, Skinny's he's been just awesome this year, and he's been a leader for us. And after games, he'll go in the room and he'll go in the weight room, and he's the last guy in there most nights. And he works so hard on his game and on his craft, and loves the game, loves hockey. And to see what he did this year after last season, guys couldn't have been happier for him. And but that's not an accident, because because he wants it and he works, and he's a great example for the younger guys in a stance of work ethic for sure.
In the same sense, what can you say about the blossoming of Paige Thompson? I mean, this guy seemed to have come out of nowhere. A guy lacked a lot of confidence in himself. Just somehow discovered his game this way.
Well, I mean, Tomer was a guy that we saw it every day in practice. Like, I mean, that guy every day in practice, he was like, this guy's unbelievable. He's the best player on the ice. And he just, like, for whatever reason in the games, like, he just didn't have the confidence, or it just wasn't translating. And now you see it. Like, we've seen it for years. And, like, just the way that he makes moves, he protects the puck, you know, his ability to make his line mates better. That's something that, you know, if you're a 1C like he was this year, that's a huge component to it. And he made his line mates better this year. And yeah, he scored 38 goals, but that's what I think, you know, he should be most proud of, is that whenever somebody was on the ice with him, you know, he made them better.
Kyle, how's your health, and who might you look at in the room as being next year's Paige Thompson?
My health's good. Thanks for asking. It's something that I tried yesterday morning to go, and kind of went through my warm up and got to a point where I just couldn't do it. So, but yeah, I should be fine in a week or two. So thanks for asking. But and as far as next year's kind of breakout star, I don't know. I wouldn't overlook 37. I think the way that he works and how bad he wants it, and you know, I look at, you know, William Nylander a couple years ago when he had that contract holdout and he missed half the year, and it's hard to play in this league when you miss half a season, especially with injury, and to try and come back. And like, if you really ISO camped him over the last 20 games, you would have found that he was one of the best players on the ice every night. So looking forward to big season from him next year.
Going off that, Kyle, yesterday Casey said that he was sad that this was the saddest he's ever been to see the season end. What's the confidence level like in a locker room, especially right now after last year with so much uncertainty with head coaching, the roster, etc.? Now it seems like the baseline's in place. What have you seen in terms of the confidence of the guys about being ready for next year, considering what you guys are building?
Well, I think there'll be a confidence for sure, but nobody cares about that. There's 31 other teams that don't care what you did last year, and all that matters is the next game. So that's something that has to be earned every day. You know, day one of training camp next year, we're going to show up and everybody's going to have 0 points, and you know, something that you got to go out and play the games, and you got to continue to build the culture. Like you said, I think we laid the foundation this year, but we got a long way to go in that regard. So looking forward to earning it again next year.
Kyle, you've been asked about Jeff. You've been asked about Paige. You've mentioned Zemgus. You mentioned Casey. Is there anybody who we're not talking about who had a bunch of individual growth this year that maybe we should be talking about?
How long you guys got? There's a ton of guys in that room. I think, you know, if you're looking at individual growth and you're not mentioning Rasmus Dahlin, I think it's folly. Like, he took some steps this year, some giant ones, and just the way that he figured out how to play on both sides of the puck this year. I think his defensive game was what gave him so much confidence offensively. And like, I mean, whatever, how many points he had doesn't matter, but just the things that he was able to do and how he was able to figure out, okay, I can make this move at this time, and I gotta flip the puck at this time. Like, that's something that only experience can tell you in the NHL. And he did a heck of a job figuring that out and growing this year. So I'd say he'd be the biggest one. You look at Yoki Haru. You look at I mean, obviously Owen only played a few games, but he's going to grow next year and he's going to be awesome. You look at Aspie. Like I think Aspie started off and he had a great start to the year, and then I think he hit a dry spell, and then he really took a deep dive into his game, and he took a huge step this year into becoming a pro. Cuzzy's game was up and down this year, but he took a ton of steps as well. Like just that's a grind. Like playing 82 games, he hadn't done it, in his career, and played in front of empty buildings last year. But so you got to figure out how to play in this league. So there was a ton of growth. I mean, I could go down the list, but ton of growth in our team this year, and looking forward to continued growth next year.